next breakout session, we'll be talking about QCT's leading the AI revolution, and joining us on stage is QCT's product marketing manager, Chang.
All right, I'm back again. So in this particular session, we want to talk about another very hot topic, right? Artificial intelligence. If you talk about AI like 5 years ago, like everyone will be probably talking about movies, you're talking about something like the Terminators or anything else. But today, AI is almost like everywhere, right? Our daily life there's so much machine learning stuff, and there's so much, I would say, artificial intelligence related stuff that's happening in our daily life that we might not even notice. So one of the survey from the industry it has been pulled out is like 62% of the organization that today, or enterprise organization, is gonna adapting some sort of AI by 2018. So as an enterprise organization, as QCT, we're still trying to also figure out what can we do with AI, right, within our organization. So today, you might not have an answer for yourself or your organization. What can you do with AI? There's so many different things that you can do, but which approach really helps your organization to grow, or like saving costs, or like advance your technology and so forth. But you might not have an answer today, but you have to figure that out in some sooner or later, because everyone else is doing it, right? So that's area including the most common ones: autonomous driving, or financial industry, and then there's like, of course, HPC, and there's social networking, doing advertising, and all those different areas. But since AI is so hot, and one of the intriguing question is so new, right? But once you decided you want to go with AI, the next intriguing question is what kind of framework, what kind of stuff you have to do, right? It's like Wild Wild West. Everyone has different approach. Google has different approach. Facebook has different approach. Like Microsoft has different approach. You learn things here and there, just a little bit piece here and a little bit piece there. But there's no such a thing as a definite answer to you, right? There's like TensorFlow, Torch, Cafe, and all different things. And your organization might be also within your organization. There might be a department trying to do speech recognition, and there might be a department want to do image recognition, and there might be some other people want to do object detections, right? And they might also, again, choosing different framework and choosing different solutions. And when you even decided which one you want to approach, and there, again, some performance differences when you adopting one particular solution, or the solution require a different set of hardware that you need to purchase. I do have experience talking to a customer saying, hey, within my organization, I have 3 different artificial intelligence projects that I want to go with. And then one department was telling me I need to get the system from vendor A, and the other department says I want to get the system from vendor B, and then there's no compatible system among all this, and then I just have to source it out, and then spend 18 months, evaluating a new partner and try to allocate a system they want. So there's just a lot of uncertainty, and there's a lot of different things that I guess even yourself, organization, you don't have an answer for. And I think that's where QCT come into play, right? We have invested ourselves, I think in the morning session, in the keynote, Mike and James saying, we have invested ourselves in the AI, not only the hardware, but also the framework for quite some time already, over 5 years. So as you can see, some of the industry leaders from NVIDIA, from some of the OCP community, all these people are actually talking about QCT as a hardware provider would be a partner that you should choose from, because we were trying to solve some of this question one by one, and then we're taking a leap this year. So I'm more than happy to actually introduce something later about how do we kind of answer the question that I kind of raised up in the earlier, like how do you choose things, and how do you go forward with the next step. So let me bring back some of the memory lane in the morning. Like, why do we invest ourselves into AI 5 years ago when the artificial intelligence things was just unknown to the broader public? Kind of echo to the session I said, like we have been working with the cloud CSP guys for so long, and then they are always the technology leader in terms of how the trend works and everything. So QCT in 2015, we introduced what they call the Big Sur project to the open source community. And then the second generation of Big Basin is also introduced in 2017, earlier this year, as part of the Facebook artificial intelligence appliances. And then while working with these partners, we learned like all this, framework stuff and all this software stuff that is gonna be one of the biggest challenges for smaller scale customer to adopt. So that's why we start recognize there's opportunity for us, and then there's a value for us to actually bring our customer into. So as about 3 weeks ago, Alibaba has a computing conference, and then we're so proud to introduce the latest generation of the server, which solving pretty much all the problem that I was describing earlier. So here's how the very one-page summarize for pretty much everything I want to talk about in the later slides is, we want to develop a system that's so flexible, regardless of which framework you choose. And while you're running that framework or that application, if you have a middle change of mind and saying, hey, I want to change something like from Cafe to TensorFlow, or you want to change the topology of how your system works, you can actually change it on the fly. You're not gonna buy a system that's gonna good for just a TensorFlow. You're not gonna just buy a system that's just good for Cafe. You're not gonna just buy something for one specific application or things that you want to do. Because as technology evolves, as artificial intelligence framework evolve, the hardware underneath does require that flexibility for you to change from one set to the other. Let me give you an example. On the right-hand side, right here, what I will have called is something we call a balance mode, right? There's a really good question about what kind of GPU to CPU ratio or accelerating card to be in general. Like, what kind of ratio can you put on in order to make my application works more smoothly? On the very right-hand side is a very symmetric way of doing things. Like, basically, you have 2 CPUs, and then you have 8 GPU on top of it, and each CPU will have 4. So it's a very symmetric, divided in the middle, like one CPU will have 4 GPU. But I have another set of applications saying, hey, that's great, but I don't want it balanced. I want everything talking to a single loop complex, a single CPU. The other CPU was basically just doing a data traffic thing and then nothing else. I want one CPU to see all this, and then I don't want to use a UPI to actually create that NUMA kind of concept. So we have that, what we call a cascade mode, allowing customers to have that. And then on the very right-hand side, what we call the common mode is we added a little bit extra bandwidth, additional PCI 16 to create like a PCI by 32 to allow one CPU to have more access, more bandwidth to all the 8 GPU that you have. So this, in last year, if you want to achieve all 3 different topologies, you're bound to buy 3 different systems from the vendor you choose, right? It's a 3 different completed system, and then once you buy that, you're pretty locked down for whatever application you choose at the beginning. And then as time progresses, you will not be able to change it. Basically, you have to buy a new thing because you want to adopt a new technology, right? So that's one of the flexibility that we have. And then as your organization grows, maybe there's a different team want to develop something different. Your investment is pretty much protected, and then you don't have to wander around and saying, hey, am I making the right choice today? Obviously, the way QCT want to provide it to you is you have the chance, have a second opinion, have a second chance to do something else rather than just throwing the money into the water, right? So let me talk about the system real quick. This particular box is actually a 4U box. that will have a motherboard, a Xeon scalable processor, dual socket Xeon scalable processor motherboard, and then it has a capability of installing minimum, 8 or even 20 FPGA card, depends on the choice of the accelerating cards that you want to have. And let me show you a little bit about the system right here in the back. So the bottom 1U is actually a motherboard tray, and the upper 3U is actually a tray for any kind of accelerating. You can have any kind of solutions from Intel to NVIDIA to AMD, or maybe Altera, FPGA, or any kind of ASIC that you choose, right? So the flexibility was absolutely there. And then the bottom part of the 1U, I know some customer, I'll prefer you buy an appliance system from us, but I do understand in the market space today, you might have a compute node or a compute system that you traditionally procure from. I'll give you an example, maybe other OEMs, right? So on the bottom 1U, we even have that flexibility of by removing the motherboard completely from the system and creating this what we call a JBUG, just a bunch of GPUs, and an enclosure that you can attach to a different host, right? And why do we do that, and how do we incorporate this into our entire ecosystem? Think about this. I just have the speech about RSD, right? It's a flexibility of composability of how you're creating things in the configuration that you want. So imagine this. I have this box as a JBOD mode, right? I have a GPU card in here. I attach like 4 compute hosts into this. And then one day, your application team saying, hey, I want a compute node, I want 2 GPUs. You just dynamic assign that through our RSD software and assigning 2 out of the 8 GPU to that particular host. A month later, you say, oh, my application was running a little bit slow. Can you give me 2 more GPUs, right, to help this run a little bit more smooth? Before, you have to take down the server, take down the entire chassis, turn it off, and then buying 2 more GPU cards from whatever you buy from, and then open up the box and putting additional cables and things here and there, and make it, configure the entire system into a different 4 GPU box again. That time normally takes about, I would say, minimum a week, right? You have to buy things, you have to turn things off, you have to hire a technician. If you don't have an in-house technician, maybe ship the system back to the OEM you purchased from, and then bring it back up. It normally takes about a week, right? Minimum a week. But today, if you have that with Quanta's QSM RSD, you can actually do it in seconds, right? All you have to do is actually issue a command saying, hey, today, I'm gonna increase 2 more GPU into my system. The couple of the command lines and things like that, there you have it, right? Your application team can enjoy and start developing your software right away, and your business can still continue to grow. So that's the flexibility that we want to provide to our customer. So your question will be, it seems like a very straightforward idea, right? Providing your end customer the capability and flexibility to do whatever they want. And why can other people offering the same thing? So let me give you a couple of examples and inside the system right here. So this is basically how the symmetric design of how each CPU has 4 GPU, right? So this is how the topology works out. So the yellow dashed line is actually representing what we call the cables, right? Allowing cable to connect it to different connectors to provide signals between CPU and GPUs. That extra connectors, that extra cables, actually causing a lot of signal integrity challenges for system designer like us, right? You have to make sure you have the best signal integrity between CPU and GPUs, because there's a lot of traffic is going back and forth. But our engineer team spending so much time, I think they just day and nights, right? They spend so much time to make sure when you design something like this, you still have the signal integrity that fit into the design envelope. And then it just the right connector, is just the right cable, the right material that you have to choose. They have I think they throw away thousands of cables, like different configuration and things like that. Just try to find that perfect match. So if you want to have the balance mode, but one day you're saying, oh, I want to do something a little bit different. All you have to do is actually change a cable set. You can buy additional cable set from our salespeople and saying, hey, I make the wrong choice, right? I bought this as originally as a what we call a balance mode, but my application team told me, hey, I'm gonna do it cascade, right? All you have to do is actually buy an additional cable set from us instead of buying a brand new system, which is, of course, a little more costly. So by doing this, you can just simply changing all this topology just by swapping cables, right? That flexibility works out really good for appliances mode, right? And this is representing there's a motherboard within the system already. And if you are not doing the appliances mode, all this cable is connected by default, right? You can actually dynamic changing whatever you want just by the way I described it earlier. So obviously we know GPU is dominating the market today as one type of accelerating options. But Mike and James was saying earlier, FPGA, other ASIC is catching up. So the same system, we're gonna be capable of doing a very crazy 20 single slot PCIe expansion card of your choices. It could be any FPGA, any proprietary card, any kind of ASIC that you found interesting for your application. So with this, you can simply put, all the things that I can possibly imagine. Of course, you can raise up a question saying, hey, there's something you haven't thought about. Then we can definitely work up something like that. But this is the concept and how we solve all these questions that I have earlier. What kind of application you have to choose? What kind of framework you have to choose? What kind of, how does the ratio of the CPU to GPU has? And all these things, you don't have to decide one day and then lock it down for the rest of the life cycle of the product. You can actually changing along the way of your application works. So the last part is kind of saying, hey, all this code technology that James was saying earlier for our landscape is we're gonna continue to be a very strong technology provider for all this core technology from Intel, from all these partners that we have. And then we're gonna continue to invest ourselves into the frameworks, not just only the TensorFlow, but there's a Cafe, there's CNTK, there's Spark, there's all these different things. And we want to find something, meet your verticals, right? And then hopefully you are accelerating your business as we grow. So we also have other stuff that I'm just giving you an example of what we think could be potentially the cornerstone of your accelerating to AI, but there's other different portfolios that we're offering. I'm gonna take your time to spend all that to talk about it, but we do have a lot of different offerings, and it's in the demo room in the back. If you find it interesting, find a representative to talk to you a little bit more about it, right? So last page before I end, a little bit of commercial time. Quanta is going to be at the SC17 in next week. There's going to be a lot of interesting talk from the industry leaders, from our partners. So please join that and then look for Quanta booth at the SC17. And if you haven't got an invitation, please talk to any of the sales representatives on the floor and make sure you get that invitation from us. And then you will get more detail about what kind of speech we have, what kind of new things that we want to demo. And Quanta will have multiple live demos about object detections and surveillance technology in the show. So hopefully you find that interesting, and then looking forward to see you at the SC17, okay? And thank you guys. I think I'm also, again, opening up for any question you guys have, and then I'll be sticking around and then just answering any questions, okay? Thank you guys.
I have some questions. What are you working on right now that you can talk about that has QCT leading the way?
Okay. So I think earlier today in the morning, there's Intel is going to bring in some sort of new ASIC, right? They call them Mana, and I think that's going to be a breakthrough for the entire artificial intelligence accelerating, and that particular technology we're really excited because it does bring a new angle from a different perspective, and then we feel like it could be a breakthrough for all, and then the performance that we have seen so far is really, really impressive. So, but it won't be something going to be in production until 2018. So once that is more mature and ready, we'll be more than happy to discuss that. But that's one of the things we're really looking forward to in the coming year.
When you hear like Mark Zuckerberg talk about AI and his reservations,
yeah,
how do you respond to all of that?
Well, for me personally, well, I think I'm excited about AI, right? Growing up, well, lately with the Iron Man kind of dream and all that stuff, with talking to robots and they can react and kind of connected with, even emotionally connected to you. I think I'm really excited about it, but also on the other side, growing up, again, like as a young kid, watching Terminator and all this Skynet stuff worries me too, right? So I just hope there's a right balance between all this, as the technology was developing, and then we just need to find that right balance. Yeah, not going to the wrong guys, right?
Yes. Is that going to require all these partnerships, the way you guys have partnerships in developing the technology, in kind of developing an ethics?
Yeah, well, majority of the customers that we work with right now is either the CSP, right, cloud service providers, and then we're penetrating into the telco and the enterprise, and then we're looking forward to partner with the government agencies and so forth, like to kind of create that kind of boundary to help balance the situation a little bit, I guess.
So can you explain a little bit about your role here at the company? And then I'd be curious to know why all of you chose this particular breakout session. And maybe, obviously my expertise is very specific as a consumer type of person, but you guys are in the industry, and I'm sure you have follow-up questions.
So my role?
Yeah.
I'm the product marketing manager for pretty much the QCT server and storage, and then the artificial intelligence appliances actually fall into the category of the server. So that's where my role in terms of how all this works, right? And then, but we do have a separate division, like a team that really focuses on the software side of it, right? I will be working very closely with them, like try to fine tune and optimize the best hardware from my perspective. And then their role is trying to find and fine tune based on our hardware to provide the best software solution as appliances. I think that worked really well within the organization. And then this kind of sparked a lot of new thinkings, I would say, right? Coming from a hardware perspective, you always talk about signal integrity, you talk about how routing is easier. But the software guy don't care about it, right? The software wants to have an optimized path to some cores, some memories, and this, right? And I think this synergy, right, is something that a lot of organizations that was selling products today cannot offer. And then our capability of answering a lot of tough questions to our customer or helping understand our customers' challenges really help our customer really accelerating. That's the part.
And what are some of the concerns you're hearing from your customers?
Well, the easy one is the one I mentioned earlier. Like they just simply don't know which path to take, right? And there's just way too many options. Sometimes too many options is not a good thing, right? Just way too many options to choose from, and it's confusing. And so sometimes when they talk to us, we offering a particular product, maybe last year they would say, oh, this is great, but after testing it, evaluating it as time goes along. Because again, AI framework is such a wild, wild west, right? It changed like so drastically every single day. So they might feel like they make the wrong choice, and they feel bad about it, right? The procurement, the engineer, there's so many different things they have to worry about. And then when something goes bad, someone always start pointing finger, hey, why didn't you make this choice earlier? So we just want to make sure our customer has the flexibility of doing things a little bit different, and then allowing them to actually work as a whole team to achieve what they really want to achieve, rather than spending time and effort trying to figure out what's the right thing to buy, what, like really ahead of the time. So again, we're a hardware solution provider, but they should be really focusing on the, the appliances, the service that they want to deliver to the publics, right?
So when you were talking about the Breakout systems, that's ready for an AI world? That's the next generation where you'll be able to provide all of that
Yeah,
for your
absolutely,
customers?
absolutely.
Well, I know I had some of my questions answered. I don't want to put any of you on the spot, but how many here are QCT employees and how many are guests? You're a guest? You're an employee. Are most people here employees? Apparently so. That's all right. Are you partners? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to force a Q&A.
But thank you, Dan.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. All right, thank you guys. So hopefully there's more sessions going on and there's a lot of demos out there, so feel free to enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. So that's the end of this particular breakout session. We're going to take a break, and at 4, we're going to be starting the Q.Synergy Fireside Chat series, so we'll see you back here then. In the meantime, please enjoy the expo and some of the refreshments outside.